For almost exactly 10 years now, Airsoft has been one of my favorite leisure activities and became even more of a passion 3 years ago with the start of my YouTube channel. I think I can say I was able to gather some good amount of experience when talking about Airsoft, but when it comes to paintball, it basically goes down to zero. Last week, I had the opportunity to try it for the first time on a local paintball field. And I thought it would be a cool idea to share my thoughts and do some kind of a little comparison between the two sports from a long-term Airsoft player's perspective. So, if you are curious and would like to learn more about the differences in terms of rules, gear and pain when you get hit, feel free to join me in the next minutes on my first paintball game ever. Have fun! Alright, in case some of you wonder if I got rid of Airsoft and switched to paintball content now, don't worry. The reason why I did this sort of excursion was the bachelor's party of one of my friends, which had playing paintball on the agenda for the first half of the day. I can tell you it was some really weird feeling to come to a field for a shooting-related activity, but suddenly starting on a much lower experience level again. It did remind me of my early days of playing Airsoft, a complete rental loadout and almost no clue what was going to await me. My aim for this video is to briefly show you the main similarities and differences to Airsoft, for all those of you who only shot BBs before and want to know if playing with paint actually brings some advantages. So, let's start with a first look at the gear and the paintball markers. Coming from Airsoft, I'm 100% used to see players in military-oriented gear in a wide variety of camouflage patterns. Also, the pistols and rifles are replicas of real firearms most of the time. On my first paintball game, on the other side, I got a very standard face mask and a rental marker with almost no similarity to a real firearm. You also had the option to rent extra protection or a marker with bigger caliber for an extra fee, but I wanted to start the very basic way. The paintballs are fed from a tank on the top by gravity, I guess. The capacity was about 200 rounds per filling. The first thing I noted, additional ammo was like really expensive compared to Airsoft. I think 100 rounds were sold for 10 euros or so, which is like 20 times as much as you pay for 100 medium-weight Airsoft BBs. Probably you can get them a little cheaper online, but when I got aware of those prices at the field, I actually was kinda shocked. The paintballs are propelled by high-pressure air, by using the same tanks as HPA Airsoft replicas. There was a central compressor-powered filling station in the safe zone, which made it easy to refill the 3000 psi tanks after every round. Very convenient. To be honest, when thinking about paintball before, I always had this mix of casual, rental and sportive style in mind. But later we also played with some advanced paintballers whose gear reminded me a lot more of Airsoft actually. Their markers and loadouts had a lot more similarities to what I'm used to, so obviously it's just a matter of style preference, how you like to present yourself on the field, just as it is for speedsofters and milsim players in Airsoft, for example. Also, some of the used brands are known in both worlds. Tipman, for instance, originally came from paintball markers and later also launched some Airsoft HPA and AEG replicas, which tells us both hobbies really are closer to each other than one may think. Before the game started, the Marshal showed us a 5-minute briefing video telling us the basic rules of the game. This field's game mode was based on a simple conquest type. Just press the button in the opponent's base and you won the round. The probably most different rule compared to Airsoft in my eyes is you only are hit if the paintballs open up and spread the color on your gear. If not, you obviously are allowed to continue playing. But in my personal experience, the balls only exploded on hard surfaces, so in about 50% of the situations there was just no difference to Airsoft, which really surprised me. After a few minutes, I did not even check for paint on my gear and just called all the hits, just as my friends did. Besides, playing paintball on this particular field felt a little bit like Wild West when having the typical German Airsoft rules in mind. This means We were not asked by the field to keep any, and I mean any, safety distances.
Alles gut, alles gut.
Or to avoid blind fire, like you see, for example, in this situation. And dead men don't talk also was not mentioned, as you see here. I don't know if this is just typical for paintball in general or only for this special field here, but in Airsoft you have much more detailed safety briefings, with even more rules than I just listed. As a group of friends, we did try to add a volunteer bang rule, but as it was not really official, it was not strictly followed all the time. Don't get me wrong here, I don't want to judge or criticize paintball for this. If this is the typical way to play this game, that's absolutely okay. And gives one more reason for the additional protection. One more huge difference is how Airsoft replicas and paintball markers behave in direct comparison to each other. A regular Airsoft replica with medium weight BBs on, let's say, 1.5 joules can hit an opponent player who is not in cover on distances of up to 60 meters without major problems. Longer distances of up to 100 meters are possible, but the chance for a hit gets smaller, of course. The rental paintball markers work completely different. As they have no hop-up system, the effective range is at about only 25 to 30 meters before the balls fall to the ground. And this on much higher energies of up to 7.5 joules, about 4 to 5 times more than typical Airsoft replicas here in Germany. I tried the standard and the upgrade marker with the larger caliber. While the lighter balls flew a bit further but less stable, the larger balls dropped earlier but had the more stable trajectory. This is something you cannot directly apply to Airsoft that way. Moreover, on the rental markers, there were just no sights or any other installation to use for aiming. The best way to hit your opponent is just to watch where the balls fly and then correct with every single shot. Easier said than done, because the accuracy in itself was not very good, to be honest. This is why the typical engagement distances in paintball are much smaller and the hits are by tendency more painful than in Airsoft, especially when being placed on the head, the neck, hands and reproductive organs. You see those hit marks? I never got so large and so many of those in any Airsoft game before. Longer range hits are possible at maybe 40 to 50 meters, but require to aim a lot above the opponent player, so it feels a lot more like artillery fire with plenty of luck needed to get the actual hit. It would be interesting to know if more pricey markers, as those you saw in the beginning of the video, are better on those distances. Maybe some of you have more experience and can tell in the comments. That would be great. So, the final question for me. Is the ability to mark the hit opponent players with paint worth the extra pain, the cleaning and also the shorter engagement distances? Maybe I'm the wrong person to answer this question, as you cannot really expect a bias-free opinion after 10 years of Airsoft, but I'll try. During that entire day, I saw not a single discussion about people not calling their hits. This may be because we all were friends coming to that event, but I still got the feeling nobody wanted to check and say, hey, you have paint in your face, I hit you, go back to respawn. Additionally, even if the paint does dry quite soon after the actual hit, it can be quite difficult to tell if a mark comes from the last hit or the previous one before. This is why cleaning off the paint before every respawn sounds like a good idea for me. However, I still got the feeling paintball is almost as much relying on fair play as Airsoft does. Not only in terms of calling the hits, but also when it comes to reducing pain for the opponent players, respecting respawn rules and so on. I understand the paint much more as a funny additional feature. It's easy to wash out of the clothes, so it's not a massive downside, but I think I would not miss it the next time I will play Airsoft again. After all, I just like the longer shooting distances, the overall milsim-oriented style and the larger game areas of Airsoft too much to spend more time on paintball in the future. But it was nice to get a first impression last week and to be able to participate in the Airsoft versus paintball discussion we all love so much a little better. Now it's your turn again. Have you played paintball before? Do you like it, or will Airsoft be your favorite forever? As always, I'm going to read and answer every single of your comments, and I'm looking forward to read more about your thoughts on this topic. Until next time, have a good one.